Wow.
Oh shit.
I'm really scared to hit send on this tweet because Danika's here and Danika is ethering her friends about their social media copy. And so now I'm like, you better
starting the stream?
you better
Wait,
tweet
hold
good,
on a second.
Zachney. You better tweet
Hold
good because Danika's going to be like, you should have let me do punch up on that.
Well, you should just run it by Danika first. Clearly,
Danika.
I can't be trusted to be making tweets and posts.
Let's do this. Let's workshop the tweet, Rob. We don't have to be scared.
Let's workshop the tweet.
All right.
Live.
So this post is visible to everyone. Everyone can reply.
Yeah.
The @Waypoint crew has gathered on the shore, waiting for the ships to bear us away to the gray havens of Link Rock. Join us.
Go on.
Twitch.tv/Waypoint. Huh?
Oh, that's great. It's very Rob. It's about ships. It's about the shore. It's like it's very Rob. Like you cannot go wrong with this.
And that is how it is done, Natalie.
Well, sorry, my
make
tweet
sure you
about
put
us
dirty
being on a
in one sentence, and then it'll be even
because
better.
we were on a journey, and the Mandalorian was also on a journey. Where everyone's on journeys, and we're all on a journey together. Especially today on this journey to say goodbye.
Farewell.
Waypoint.
That's a professional.
We
right
should.
there.
In case,
call that a
yes,
segue?
please.
Can we get some?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good enough. That's about best we're gonna do on tonight.
Wow.
But I think this is a stream where we've got a lot of people, past, present, future, of what's been associated with this website. It has been going long enough that people may not know everybody that's been associated with this website, which is, I think, a real testament to the thing that we were all part of building. Like almost 7 years is long enough that you can join along the way and be who dat. So I think I would where I'd like to start. It really, this whole thing. The reason any of us are here is some sick motherfucker convinced Vice they should build a gaming website, and that's Joel Fowler. Joel, father, also a Fowler, both at the same time. Joel, I don't remember what your title was. Site manager? What were you to us originally?
By the time we launched, I was publisher.
Publisher, that's right. Okay.
Vice turn.
And I was the first publisher they had do like more than one site, so they added a group in front of it, but no more pay. And they were just like, now you have 2 sites instead of 1. So I was group publisher.
So Waypoint starts with you. It does not have the name, but like where does it be? Like when do you hear Vice wants to start a gaming website? Like what gets you there to Austin to all of us?
I don't even know if I've told Austin this story. So it actually all starts with Taco Bell. And I'm
Jesus
Cado's
Christ,
eyes.
Contain yourself.
Wait, are you
I had Taco Bell today.
Okay.
I had Taco Bell
that's a
today.
surprise. Hey,
today to see
everybody,
if I
it's Kismet. Cado had Taco Bell today.
It's become my stream food. When we do a stream that's gonna go like all day.
It's such a good stream food.
It's such a good stream food. That Baja Blast hit.
You can eat it with your hands without mess, and then it doesn't transfer to the keyboard. It's filling. It's nutritious.
I wouldn't
You're getting
say it's not without mess. I'd say I just like as someone who ate Taco Bell while driving this weekend, it was not without mess. But
well, not if you're an expert.
Okay, so Vice would launch new verticals, and oftentimes those were attached to some sort of like brand partnership. Like Danika worked on Creators Project with Intel. Motherboard was actually launched with Dell as a sponsor, which sounds a little dated now, but it was like Dell and Motherboard Creators Project. So Vice did a deal with Taco Bell to make a bunch of gaming documentaries. And what we ended up using for the documentaries we had already shot for the Disney TV show, we did like 5 stories. They were a brand partnership with Vice and Taco Bell. And from that, they were like, okay, we need to launch a gaming site so we can get more advertiser money. And originally, I don't know if y'all saw the original reel they cut, but it was so bad. But it was just like, it was kind of like, do you remember that Vice League of Legends esports doc, Rob, that got like really clowned on because the guy was like, "Can you believe people are in here watching video games?" It was like that energy. And so originally it was meant to be like this like mass gaming play for Vice to get more ad dollars. But then I met Austin, and he obviously ruined that idea, and we ended up with Waypoint.
But how did you and we told the story, like I also interviewed for that EIC position like before you went with Austin. Like how did you figure out like who you were interested in? Because in some ways a lot of it ended up informing what became the vision of the site. Like what was like the kinds of people that you thought would be interesting to even run a website?
I think, yeah, because I had launched Thump, and which was, you know, like an electronic.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to explain what Thump is.
Yeah. RIP as well.
Was that like Noisy?
Thump was later put under Noisy. Why did Vice have two music sites? Again, Noisy had sponsorship with, I think it was like JanSport or something, and Thump had a sponsorship from ABI, which owns Bud Light. I mean, all of the verticals at Vice were essentially like someone saw something that was popular and wanted to capitalize on that. Because the entire company was built to be acquired.
Wait, why did we stop doing that?
I think the economics of display advertising really killed that. Like video and display advertising really shit the bed on that model. But all of Vice seemed like it was built to sell, and this has like been reported a lot now, but Vice was built as a company completely unsustainably so that it could sell to Disney, and they never sold to Disney. And so after that didn't happen, it was like, what do we do now? So anyway, so we put together a short list of like people writing interesting things in games. I actually didn't follow a ton of games media at the time. I literally just like played a ton of Destiny, and was a publisher that happened to like video games.
Yeah.
So I listened to some gaming podcasts, and then Colin, our dear friend and good friend of the site, had turned me on to stuff like, you know, at the time, like what the Mackerel brothers were doing with like Monster Factory, and Austin's writing. And we interviewed like 7 people, and Austin was like, CL and I interviewed people who was like our head of content. And Austin like was, one, Patrick told me to hire Austin in his interview. And then 2, we all really, really liked Austin and his vision for the site. So that's kind of like, I don't know, like we don't get credit for Waypoint being as like personal and as cool and as different as it ended up being, because the original vision was Vice trying to capitalize on gaming advertising money. Which we didn't really build the model for that.
But we told part of this story in one of the things we've recorded this week, but now I can tell you to your face, and I'm sure I told you it, 6 years ago, but I knew when I took the call from you that even if somehow I did knock your socks off and you wanted to hire me, that I just bought a house, I was expecting a kid, and I was not moving to New York. And so I was just not the choice for EIC. But I took the call. I was like getting off of Metra or something, like one of the train stations when I was talking to you. And I was just so flattered that somebody thought I would be interesting enough to like run something, because I always just thought of myself as a writer that works under other people. And I was like, I'm gonna take that goddamn call because someone thinks I could run a website, and I'm not gonna do it. But I was just, I've always, it meant a lot to me that even your cursory look around the game industry landed at, oh, hey, maybe this kid, because he looks like a kid now and looked like a kid 6 years ago, could have done something like that. So, so thank you. I really appreciate that. Look, I look exactly the fucking same in this goddamn video.
That's incredible.
You literally look the same, Pat. You've not aged at all.
No, there's a little bit. I can see it a little bit.
Thank you, Ren. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, there's like a sallowness now.
He just doesn't have a ring light.
It's true. I do need to get one of those. Danielle and Austin were both invited to come on tonight. Mike Diver, the OG of the OGs when it comes to to Vice's guide to gaming, Vice Games. That none of this exists without Mike. Danielle was busy with a vet appointment. If I get a last minute message, we'll try and slide Danielle in here. And Austin is at an airport and may call in at one point through what they call an escape pod. But let's see. I guess maybe we just go in. I think in order. So we go from Joel.
Order?
I don't count. I'm next. Then Rob, you're next.
I'm
right?
next.
You don't count.
I'm next.
Are you before? Are you pre-Rob?
Danica's before me.
I'm pre-Patrick.
Oh,
Rob's-
okay.
Danica was in the background of this video.
I'm pre-Patrick.
Fuck.
I'm like
That's right. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's been long enough that
So- they rushed to hire me because I had an offer on the table. I had just moved to New York. I quit my job at Crunchyroll and moved to New York, and I had an offer on the table. And then I got hit up by Austin, and went in and had interviewed with like the guy who ran the socials. And
How did Austin find you? Was it a stack of things, and he thought you were interesting?
I
Did he know you?
I don't know what or how it happened, but I think maybe Erica or a hack had a hand in it, like referred me to him or something. But he hit me up, and then I started the interview process, and I think it was like a month and a half long period of waiting because I was never part of the Waypoint team, right? I was always part of the social audience growth team. So they hired me on to work on Thump and eventually Creators Project. And then also kind of just work on Waypoint on the side. But yeah, that's why I got brought on before. Yeah, early.
And that was always like a real tension during those years that you were with us. And ultimately is the tension that sort of ended up snapping was you were like literally no one else is more like if Austin was responsible for a lot of the creative vision of philosophically what is Waypoint, how we presented ourselves externally, socially, like the voice of the site, the shit postings vibe, like that was all you. And then everything we've ever done since has just been, well, let's just do a crappier version of what Danica was doing expertly.
No, y'all are doing an amazing job. But yeah, it was a lot of I mean, I think the thing that we were always trying to do at Waypoint first and foremost was to like build and serve the community. And then secondly, it was convince execs. It was always like this, let's convince execs of X, Y, and Z because they just didn't understand gaming. And it's so funny because the guy who was my manager at Vice works at I work at Salesforce now under Tableau, and he works at Salesforce under Slack. I think maybe he's not there anymore, but he like reached out to me and was like, hey, and I was like, hey, but yeah, it's like
that TikTok audio, like, hey,
yeah, hey. It was a weird thing because in my first interview, I said like, they were like, what's one thing you would change about how we do social media? And I was like, you just sound like robots. All you do is post news stories. And they're like, well, that's what works. And I'm like, is it what works? Or is it just the only thing that you've ever done and you've never tried anything else? And the entire like form and function of the social team was just to drive page views and never about like building a community or having loyal readers, right? It was really just about getting those initial page views. Clickbait was very taboo at the time. And I remember just the entire social team trying to find ways around still posting clickbait. But I constantly was trying to move over and just report to Austin because I never even worked with my team. I was with Waypoint all the time, all day, every day.
But then you started becoming kind of like one of our voices as opposed to just a social person. And like, as you like, I remember one of the things that snapped things was like, well, we would like Danica to become part of our team, not just a social person that we are leaning on heavier and heavier, is more responsible for a lot of what is our identity. Could we just have her and have money to do that? And it was like,
they were like, no,
no.
I won't go too far into detail on like the counter offer that I got from them, but it was so, it just felt like such a slap in the face. And I was really depressed. It was like Waypoint was
so
such a
sad.
huge part of my life. And like, I met the most amount of friends I've ever met ever in my entire online life during the years that I was at Waypoint, and like have really long lasting, meaningful friendships now. But yeah, it hurt. It was like, yeah, we can do this and we can give you more money, but we're going to actually pull you off and have you do this like broader content role. So it sucked. And that was when I was like, okay, well, I have to go. But I absolutely applaud everyone who stayed around. You know, I think
Yeah, but you got a shit offer.
Despite
You know what I mean?
where we're
Like,
at now. Yeah.
It's like don't take a raw deal. I think at least my memory of it is at least, yeah, you were very, upset to go, but don't take that. Like, that's terrible for your career, and like that's not where you.
But
need,
you know why I
go,
didn't?
so.
You know why I didn't? Patrick actually years and years and years ago, and I don't even remember like if this was after I had already given my notice or like in a conversation we had just separate from that. You and I had a conversation and you made a comment where you were like, no job is a forever job. And I have repeated that to so many people in so many different roles because it's important. Like, even if you're working in a job where you feel like this is my dream job and these are the people that I want to be working with forever, if you are unhappy in areas that are greatly affecting like your output and like your mental health, it's not worth it. So yeah, what's that?
Hell yeah. Okay, so we have Danika, and then we pinball to Rob. Rob, you're the next one up, right? That comes into the site because you come a little after the Waypoint 72, right?
Wait, was Rob before Natalie?
Yeah, Rob was before me.
Just by
okay.
I was,
but
right.
Yeah.
Was it only a couple months?
When did Cado start moderation work? That's the real question. When did Cado-kun become a fixture in chat?
Oh, I guess that's true.
Early.
Yeah, Cado was community.
I forget.
It's
when I
really hard to
started
remember.
being a mod, but yeah, I watched 72 Hour and like was in the Discord early. I remember the day they opened the Destiny channel. Like I was there that early.
That's what got it to stick. Was like, well, this place looks interesting.
Yeah. But oh hey, I could play Destiny with people here. That's great. I need more people to play Destiny with. Yeah, I guess in theory that I feel like that might have been after Rob though.
I don't know. I remember I was on the lookout for you in chat pretty early because,
Yeah.
like, again, you were always very helpful.
Yeah.
But that actually does. But like, that is something we were talking about the other day. Just like sort of trying to remember how all this unfolded. And you were mentioning that like one of the other things that Danika did that was so instrumental in setting up the site and giving it an identity was also like laying down the foundations for the way the community grew up and what it would turn into, which is something else that, like, in addition to all the like giving Waypoint a voice and identity on social media, I am just curious, like, when we talk about the creation of the Waypoint community, obviously it's always been a bit self-directed, but also in those early days, how was that forming? Like, what were the discussions around that, how it would work, and how do you identify, now, I mean, these are names I've known for like 5 or 6 years, people who've been on the moderation team for ages and running it, but like, there was a point when none of those people were there as mods, and I'm just kind of curious, like, how that all came about.
We were really scrambling for mods for the 72-hour stream, and I think, and Joel will remember these conversations as well as I do, but early on there were a lot of conversations about our existing audience on Vice Games and what that audience looked like and what they talked about and what, the other sites that they visited and things like that, and what we wanted for our own community. And Vice's key success measure was always page views, and we were always trying to figure out how to get around that. So thinking about how we built the community had to fall into what we wanted our eventual success measures to be, which doesn't mean like our community was transactional, but more so means like we need to ensure that our community is us. Like, our community is who we are, what we consume and how we talk about games, or at least is interested in hearing us talk about games. So a lot of it was like, Vice's audience is this, and how do we form a community that is a little less, I guess, shitty, for lack of better word, lack of better words. So the 72-hour stream was really that kickoff. And I think we all did call outs on our own Twitters, as well as I made a post on the Waypoint Twitter, and people just DM'd us, and I talked to people in DMs, and I looked at their history of previously moderating, and I of course scoured their socials because that's just how I am. And yeah, it was really important for us, especially in 2016, that we were building and nurturing a very open, progressive, kind and warm community.
There was someone earlier in the chat, I cannot verify this myself, but said it seemed like they had looked back and found that Cado's first post in the Discord was December 2016. So that takes you almost as far back as you can go. Austin's hired in June
Cado predates
2016. Me. I remember there being a press release in Variety.
Wait.
Yeah.
Joel, do you remember that?
Press release.
Is a bigger story than Ellen canceling her TV show with Austin Walker hired to run Waypoint Vice's. Actually, we hadn't announced. I don't even think we had a name. Yeah, that's so wild. Oh my God, Danika, I'm having so many memories when you're talking. Also, just quickly detouring on Danika, Vice had this all hands content meeting and would round up the top performing articles and top performing posts, and it was so fucking funny because Waypoint tweets would be the highest performing socials across all of Vice.
How are we going to talk about this?
Yes.
It was on a projector, and by that time we had this fucking just douchey ass head of content tech bro dude.
Ugh.
And it would always be Waypoint shit post, and then also
and they hated it.
Oh,
they hated it. They said stop using I on the socials. You're not talking about yourself. You're talking about Vice as a company. Always use we. And I was like, no. And they would be like, stop talking conversationally in replies. And I would just be like, no. And eventually I just completely stopped going to those meetings. So
when we talk about some of these folks, are we allowed to refer to first names?
Well, we're
I don't
that's
even remember
your call.
the
I
first
don't
guy's
work there.
name.
Yeah,
Was it a J name?
Tomorrow?
Was it a J name?
Jack?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
Jack?
yeah. It was yeah.
Jack,
Yeah,
was one of them.
Was it
Yeah.
It
Jack?
was Jack. Yeah.
He was one of
Yeah,
the
okay.
There
guys.
was another
That was
J
one.
name that was
Jack was
even
my
worse.
boss.
There's another.
Jack was my boss.
Jack was my boss.
The other was the
I
other,
would
the other
have
was
quit dealing with that
the
guy
vest
too.
guy.
Yeah.
Vest job.
Vest
Hey,
guy. The
nothing
tone
wrong with a
topic
vest.
talent guy.
Vest guy.
Let's
Yeah.
not all vests.
Oh my gosh. Anyway, yeah, our socials always knocked it out of the park, and then they would be like, "But your page views," and we're like, "Yeah, well, I guess that's just not what our goals are. Our goals are not to drive traffic to the site. Our goals are just to build and have an amazing community." So anyway, back to Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I had basically given up on games freelancing when I got an offer for to work at Red Bull, and I didn't want to work at Red Bull, so I tried to sabotage it by naming an outrageous salary. And what I didn't realize is that what's outrageous to you as a freelancer is not outrageous to large companies, and so they will just say yes. When can you move to LA? And suddenly you're moving to LA. And that job wasn't real good. There were a lot of issues, from a variety of angles. And here's the weird thing: I don't know how I ended up reaching.
Yeah,
out
there
to
was
Austin
an LA
one
Rob.
day.
There was an actual LA Rob at one point.
Yeah.
LA was my favorite part of that whole endeavor. Was realizing I love the city, and I fully expected to hate it, and I was like, "Oh, I love LA." The experience of working this job is miserable, but I love it here. But the weird thing about this was, and this is a part there's still a part of the story I've never fully understood how we got on this. Austin and I had a friendly relationship, but I wouldn't say we were close. And I was doing Idle Weekend with Danielle at the time, but I swear to God, this is on the level. at no point was I like angling for a job at Waypoint. It really wasn't like I never want to be a person like going around your friends being like, hey, any work for me over there? But there was really stressed. A lot of shit was hitting the fan, and I was just talking to Austin online, and he was like, "You want to hop on a phone call?" And I was like, "Yeah, you know what? Let's have a vent session. That sounds fucking great." And in the middle of the vent session, I've laid out the situation I'm dealing with. He's laying out some frustrations that were going on at Vice. He's like, listen, man, I can't hire anyone right now, but like I'm going to get a hire soon. And if you can just like hang on, like the cavalry is coming. And but the conversation hadn't been going there.
I know. It's knight shining armor.
Like it was just like, well, thank you. That's odd. Okay. Sure. That's great. But it was just it was a very strange, pseudo offer that came out of that. And then the funny thing was, in the next few months, the issues kind of resolved at Red Bull. And so what was a burning building I needed to get out of, suddenly I had, come out in a really strong position, that things were looking up at that company, and I was like, corporate world isn't so bad. Like this job's easier than working games media for sure. Like you have never seen so many people log such long hours at the office and do so little. It was like at that company, it was your day began, you found your work friends, you went out to get breakfast at the on-campus cafe. 90 minutes later, you're like, we should probably go do some work. After about 45 minutes of that, someone cruises by your desk. Hey, we're going to be going to get lunch in like an hour. You in? Absolutely. But go out, come back, and next thing you know, it's like, well, it's 3:30 in the afternoon. Not really much left to do here today, so I guess do you want to go play video games in the lounge?
Oh my god!
And it wasn't always like that, but that was the vibe of the place a lot of times. And so I had sort of made my peace with, I'll just be a corporate comms guy. I'm gonna start embracing the Red Bull lifestyle. They were like, "Can you prove you're Red Bull enough? Go walk up
Drink
Mount
50
Baldy."
right now.
They try to find coffee machines on that campus. They're just have all the Red Bull you want. That's your pick me up. But they had all the good flavors. So fridge is full of the good flavors, not like plain Red Bull, but
peach?
the
The
good
peach?
summer ones. Yeah.
Ooh, the
Oh,
yellow.
hell
yellow.
yeah, the
Shout out to
peach
that
goes
yellow
hard.
one.
So I was
Yeah,
fully
yeah,
like, I used to be a corporate comms guy, and maybe this could just be my life. And so I went out to, I just joined the sports team there, and I went out to, they did this thing in St. Paul that was like, it was Red Bull Crashed Ice. And it's just a really successful Red Bull event, and it's all like, this is experience like one of Red Bull's flagship events. And it was pretty cool, and I was like, I don't really feel anything for people doing like crazy sick jumps on an obstacle, like a Excite Bike style obstacle course on skates, but like it's cool. And again, this is a pretty decent gig. This could be my life. And I go home.
Did they not have
and
an
then
F1
Austin's
car at
like,
that point?
Oh, they did,
Okay.
but that was handled by different teams. Like the F1 team was a separate country within the company. And so I was like, I'd fully made peace with like, it's gonna be like corporate stuff from here. And like literally the night I got home on a visit back east to see MK, phone rings, position is opened up. Do I want it? And for a minute there, I was not actually sure, because it was like it had been a grueling few months, and I was a little bit concerned, like, am I a little bit burned out from all this? And the weird thing is, I think because of like the hesitancy, I was able to just like, here's what I make right now at my company. If we can get in that ballpark, sure. And that ended up being a decent place to negotiate from. And so suddenly it was back into games and back into like going into Waypoint for my first time in a staff role, a full-time staff role at a company, and it was really funny leaving Red Bull at the time. Everyone suddenly I was the guy going to the cool opportunity, right? It was like people were convinced I was going off to be on the ground floor of Vice, which was absurd given where Vice was at that time. But there were people like they weren't quite handing me their resume on my last day at Red Bull, but there were a lot of people doing the whole like, if they need a social media person, hey, if they need like a short form content video person.
Like Rob, when I was I left Kotaku when I distinctly remember this. When the Hulk Hogan bankruptcy, or like when the court case finished up, and they announced like the amount.
What does Hulk Hogan have to do with it?
Oh,
wait, what?
It's just what he remembers.
Hulk Hogan is the one who bankrupted Gawker Media originally.
What?
Because Gawker
Yeah.
posted.
What? You don't know?
You're not aware of any of this?
So Hulk Hogan has a friend named Bubba the Love Sponge.
Rob, we can't. Basically, Gawker posts a sex tape. Hulk Hogan sues. I'm there while this lawsuit is playing out, and I am sitting at my mom's house. My wife is at that moment 7 months pregnant. I have just purchased a house. I bought a car a week ago, and they announced on this live stream. I'm watching like the court live stream that Hulk Hogan has won the court case and Gawker is going to go into bankruptcy. And I just started crying at my computer because I was the one who made the most money at the time. I was like, "Fuck! Like I am going to lose my job when I just bankrolled a bunch of stuff personally."
This is how compressed time is, because I was at Kotaku when that started. Like, the Kotaku thing ended, I went to, like, that was all in the space of a year, but I remember being on those emails where, like, for a good 6 months, Nick Denton was emailing us, like, once a week, being like, we're not going to lose, we're going to fight this to the last bastion, we're going to take these people to fucking cleaners. This lawsuit has no merit, none whatsoever. And it went the other way.
It went the other way.
Wow.
And anyways, like, long story short, like I was fortunate to have two options in front of me. It was to go to Rolling Stone and write for the very short-lived Glixel. Bad name.
Oh God.
I do remember Glixel.
Yeah, because they launched.
I did some work for Glixel.
Same existence. We were like existing in parallel. It was the weirdest thing ever.
Yes, I mean this stuff usually happens kind of all at the same time. A bunch of media companies get excited about video games, and
Glixel. We all talk about like it's hard to name things, and I agree. I do feel like even today you could probably do better than Glixel.
Dude, so when I'm on my, like, it's not even like a final interview, but it's like I was talking to like one of the heads of Rolling Stone and was like, they're trying to court me for the position, and I hated the name, but they'd clearly landed on it, and I'm not going to talk the name except to the people I could trust. And I'm talking to this person I cannot trust, and I'm on the phone call explaining like the stories I like to write, what I would do if I came here. And they're like, what do you think of the name Glixel? And I paused, and it's like my whole life went in front of me as I thought, how do I answer this? And what I said was, I've been part of branding exercises before. Like, it's so difficult to name things, and you're just thankful when you find something that maybe makes sense. And he goes,
that you just don't actively cringe at.
But then he went, I came up with the name, and I'm like, oh, fucking thank God I didn't just immediately say like, well, that's a pretty rough one. So I get through all that, and I'm talking to Austin, I'm talking to Joel, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do between the two of them. And like one of the deciding factors, other than just like really wanting to work with Austin after we'd been kind of past each other in Giant Bomb when he took my previous position that I'd left, was that like my brother was like, you can't go to Rolling Stone. Vice is cool as shit. I watch all their stuff. My brother, who was in like a Natalie knows a popular enough rock band to be known and admired by one Natalie Watson, although not admired enough for my dipshit brother to record like a proper video when asked.
No.
Like, you just mean a lot. That was one of the great disappointments of my life, to deliver a video from my brother being like, just surprise my friend who's like a really big fan of you, and he's like, Hey Nat, Tim from the audition here. Cool. Thanks for listening. Bye.
That's not gonna get done on
That
Cameo.
sounds great. That sounds great to me.
No.
Oh my god!
I was so mad.
I still
was
have it
embarrassed
somewhere.
to show
I
her.
have to find
I was
it.
embarrassed. We were at the seafood place that I had one of the
You were
greatest
like
meals of
out.
my
It
life.
was like it sounded like there was a lot of like fun energy in the air, and then your brother's voice was like antimatter to that. But I was still thrilled. It still meant the world.
The audition, yes. If you were in the chat, you know what?
me.
If you know the audition, if you Google the audition, you will see an album art at some point, and there's a little
And Patrick's
Timmy
brother.
Klopek, and that is.
I was a big.
When
I was a
Natalie and I
big
put
fan
that
of his
together,
band.
that was a
It
big.
was it like broke my
boy
brain.
moment.
It was.
Oh my
it was,
god! Wow.
it
Sorry,
was
I'm looking at these
just-
fucking pictures.
It was wild. It was
Pete
wild.
XM, I've literally worked the stage for shows the audition played in my area. LMAO, I've met those guys.
That's insane. That's nuts.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It was just that. Yeah, my brother thought Vice was cool because that was an era in which Vice was cool. Like we were
Vice
coming
was
in.
cool
at
when
sort
I
of-
joined too. For
Vice
what
was
it's
cool.
worth.
Vice
Yeah.
was cool.
Oh, actually, no. Hang on. There's a very important story I do have to tell you just before. Okay, so there's a bit of like everyone's like, "Hey, man, like congratulations on the Vice gig. That's awesome. What an opportunity. Here's my card. Here's my contact info. Blah blah blah." A few days before my last day at Vice, though, there was this survey that went out of the youngs. It was like, how do the Zoomers feel about different brands?
Zoomers were not around yet.
And Vice
Were
got
they?
killed. Vice was just like smoked on that survey. It was like Zoomers think Vice is less cool than Buick. And
Wait, this is a recent survey?
What?
It was
this
published
was
by
a 2017
BuzzFeed,
survey.
though. Yeah.
So
it was like-
okay.
Go.
Sorry,
What?
I was a Zoomer youth in 2017. Like so like Vice's fucking Snapchat stories was like I know many people who watched those. So like some people
Yeah.
were cool with Vice, but like it was a little bit corny by 2017.
Oh yeah, Vice was
Fair
Vice
enough.
was millennial cool and did not age as well. You know, like
Yeah.
also I remember Patrick. Oh my god, like this is like my boss was a very stoic German media guy at Vice, and Patrick. So Austin came on board, right? Like Danika was on board, and it was like he literally, he's the kind of guy that would like you would go to a sales pitch and he'd be like, "Go get money for this thing," and that would be his like pep talk, And then if you came back, he would be disappointed. But I remember him telling me like he's like, "Did you hire Patrick yet?" And I was like, "No, I'm still working on it. He's got this competing offer from a company called Glixel," and he looked at me. He gave me the look that was just like, "Go close this deal." You know what I mean? It was so funny. But like, I also really respected when you came on, Patrick. You were one of the first employees, I think, at Vice to like negotiate a much better parental leave than they had like as their stock policy, and like that was part of you coming on board. And I was just like, I don't know. I really respected how direct and like matter of fact you were in that whole
Credit my wife with that. She's like, "You're having a kid in like 3 weeks. Figure it the fuck out." Okay,
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure out a little bit officially and a little bit unofficially, and we'll meet somewhere in the middle.
Oh yeah, it was like texting. I was texting with someone. I was like, "We can't put this on paper, but Patrick's good, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." So
Yes, we figured out. It's like we got there on the money, and then we unofficially figured out how I could see my kid more often after they were born. Also, I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna turn around. I'm extremely hot, but this is the
What
unofficial
is that
Waypoint.
sweatshirt? Why
Okay,
don't I have one?
Cado, we still got to talk about Natalie. But
Yeah.
Can you bring it up? And while
On
I do
here?
this, because this is just bring it up on because it's on the website still. You
I
can't
believe
pay
so.
$95. You can pay $95 for Waypoint. Natalie, if I was to ask you, what is the Waypoint motto? If like you just like had
Fuck
to,
capitalism,
like,
go home.
But what if it was like up, down, left, right, green, A star?
Oh, it's this sweatshirt. It's this
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, I knew I sent this.
I did see this.
my
I did
gosh.
see this.
For
The front is
$95,
so
you do.
Wait, that is like the most bamboozled I've ever been by an article of clothing ever. The front is genuinely cool. I
Yeah,
fuck with
just
the
the simple
front.
Waypoint
It's
logo.
cool.
That's
It's a
great.
good-
Front
it's
That's
a
rules.
fine.
vibe.
It rules.
And the back
And then this.
Is astounding.
up, down, left, B, up, down, right, A.
Right, yes.
Waypoint.
Don't
This is
say
not a
This
joke.
This
This
is what
Honestly, it
Vice's
kind of
gaming
goes
site
though. It kind of
would have been.
goes.
No,
This
I've
picture.
worn this multiple times. Go ahead, Joel. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just saying this energy is like what Vice's gaming site probably would have been.
Oh yeah.
Without all of
Oh,
your
yeah.
input.
Oh yeah.
They
It
they
goes
published
in
this
like an
without
ironic
asking.
way.
Yes,
like
100%.
that.
That's
It's
what I
The irony pilled
95
fans
bucks?
get it.
For
$95.
Well, that's
$95.
the $95 part. There's no irony to that. That is just fucking ridiculous.
$95.
$95 for Vice
can't.
merch is so
I can't.
corny.
Nah.
Like, if you are someone spending $95 on Vice merch, that's corny. That is corny.
And-
Sorry,
and
Vice.
Hey,
Ren-
I just need to read this. No
Oh,
bad
yeah,
175.
sorry.
Real March of Time Hours. I knew Rob from PC Gamer because my dad used to be a subscriber.
fuck yeah.
That's
Wow. Rob's gonna marinate
Amazing.
in that information.
We didn't
No, that-
buy these, by the way.
No, so that's what I was going to explain. This
Yes.
merch shows up unannounced. Just, I saw an email.
your house?
It was like, what? No, unannounced. Like, there was an email that went
Yeah.
out that, like, Vice launched a merch store. And I click on the
oh
link.
yeah, okay.
And they only had a couple of brands they were, like, working around. And it made sense that they would choose us because we had, selling the subscription stuff and fans that were already buying merch through a store we already started. And I click over to this, and I message the people, like our direct boss, and like, what the fuck is this?
I'm losing
They're like, we
I'm
don't
losing
know.
my mind. The introduction to it just says, if you know, you know. And then it just describes the product.
We
Like,
didn't
it's
know! We didn't know!
It's called Code Hoodie. Code Hoodie. And then it just says, if you know, you know. Heavyweight 100% cotton, please.
Are you a
etc.
real gamer? Do you know?
I guess I'm not, which
I
is
don't.
fair and
Yeah.
fine.
I did
But so
not
we
know.
we told them that they didn't have
Don't
to take
dead,
it down.
open alive.
We didn't think that the audience was going to buy this stuff anyway. And whoever poor souls were assigned to build this, it wasn't their fault. Like, they weren't out to, someone just made a design,
No.
was given an assignment.
This was an assignment.
And that's,
yeah.
and that's what happens at big companies. But I said, hey, as apology, I need 4 of these comped. And Ren, I believe it was you, correct me if I'm wrong, that when they started getting shipped out, we would then like look at the shipping charges, and wasn't your like shipping charges, and you live in New York,
Yeah,
it's like
$30.
$45?
Yeah, it was like $35 to get it shipped.
Can you
to me.
see if
So
anyone has bought it?
Vice. No, we
we
shouldn't.
don't have the connection.
One
We
thing
don't-
I'll note about this
we don't
hoodie real
know.
quick.
We don't have the back ends.
I need to know who has paid money for that.
This is a hoodie
Oh,
so bad that
man.
my girlfriend gets mad at me when I wear it to bed. Just actively repulsed by the hoodie.
Oh,
That
You know what?
is
She's
wild.
right.
That is wild. Well, I'm glad you're
About to
rid
be a
of
collector's
the.
item, though.
It is kind of like yeah, it is really.
That one's got a little
Uh,
of my sweat on it too. So just test that up on
Yum.
the bay and get a little extra cash. So yeah, then we bounced around. Then we get to old Natalie Watson.
Oh, thanks for that
Immortality
fucking
Zone.
intro. Jesus Christ.
Nailed it.
We zigzag the fuck
Roll the
around and then
clip.
get to you.
How do you? So I'm
How
sure
did
I've
I
heard the
come
story.
about?
How do you learn of Waypoint? Because like you are young enough to, if I remember correctly, were like a fan of Waypoint or a fan of Austin's, and that is what initially leads you to this
I
type.
was-
Or she just needed an
Yeah.
internship.
I was looking for an internship.
Two things can be
um,
true, right?
Two things can be true. I had a kind of roundabout way of ending up at Waypoint. I was, as OG Waypoint fans will remember, I was in college at the time that I started at Waypoint. Before I started, when I first got to college, I thought I was going to like be a scientist, which let's think Let's thank God that that's not where I ended up.
Scientists for
very
what?
And that I'm
curious.
sitting here
Specialty.
talking about video games.
What's the
instead.
arc? Where were you going?
I don't know. I wanted to be in neuroscience. I wanted to work in like behavioral, like molecular behavioral molecular and behavior.
So she got to school,
I-
and they were like, "That's not a thing." And Natalie was like, "I was misinformed."
No, it's a fucking thing. Molecular biology. Yes, thank you. I worked in a molecular biology lab at USC when I was a senior in high school, by the way. So I used to have credentials for this shit. No longer. Clearly, all the gaming has done enough damage that I could never be a scientist.
It was the gaming, for sure.
It was the gaming.
Damn that gaming, Big Smoke.
It was all the Praetorium. The Praetorium
Oh, yeah, it was
killed
Praetorium,
it.
yeah.
Killed my scientific dreams. So
Too much time travel.
way too much time travel. So I did all of that. So then I took like a games elective class at one point because I found myself kept writing about games in my English classes, like my philosophy and literature classes. And then I took a class with Maddie Bryce, who used to be a contributor on Waypoint, is I still think an adjunct at the NYU Game Center. A fantastic critic, like one of the most brilliant minds, no longer really on Twitter. But like it was just a huge inspiration and just like blew my world open about like what it means, what writing about games could be. So I took a class with her and she recommended me to start reading Waypoint. She was like, you should check this out. And I had kind of started reading it a little bit before that as I was just getting more familiar with games, because at that point I decided I want to work in games in some way. I don't know like how. I was working at GameStop, actually. That was like my foot in the door in games. I was like, I don't care what I do, I need to get into games. So I went and worked at GameStop. So I was working at GameStop at the time that I applied for the Waypoint internship.
Time
And
was a
then-
hallowed way to enter the games industry, though. You might be the last
Yeah.
one to take the GameStop to industry pipeline.
I think I might have been. Yeah. I didn't know what else to do. I was just like, oh, I'll get. And honestly, the thing that GameStop gave me is I just like I knew about every game that was out, and I just like familiarized myself with so many different games out there that I could speak to, and that ended up just expanding my curiosity about those games in the first place. So then I was writing about them more, reading about more games, playing more games. And then so I applied for the Waypoint internship. And I had an interview with Austin. I remember I was so nervous. And
What did
like
he ask you? What were like the questions?
we talked about just like well, I was doing like a streaming thing at the time, so he was like kind of asking me about that because I applied for this live stream producer role, right? Live stream
Right,
producer
I do remember
internship.
that. Yes.
And what I wanted was to like work in like I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to like do podcasting, or not podcasting. I wanted to write. Eventually I would, as I learned about the podcast and stuff like that, I wanted to. But the live stream production thing was like the stuff I felt the shakiest about. Like I was kind of doing like DIY streams on my own, but I had I wasn't sure. I was like studying OBS before that interview to try and like learn memorize things and like learn how to like make scenes and stuff like that. I was just like that. I was so nervous. I knew like culturally we were like such a good fit, me and Waypoint, because I just felt like I was doing like a subjectivity focus and like a philosophy degree, and I knew Austin's background with crit theory as well and political theory. So I just felt like culturally I was like, this is like, I have to be here. I just like, I know I can like fit in here, and I know like these are my people. Like these people think like I do. And then I know it was between me and someone else that was based in New York who I think was also like a student at NYU as well. And I somehow won out, by, I don't know, somehow Austin took a chance on me. And then I just fell in love with everything like right away. I had so much fun doing the streams. The first thing I started doing was working really closely with Joel, and shout outs to Dylan, friend of the site and old Vice Waypoint hero, Dylan Coburn, who taught me like how to live stream, how to do everything, how to work everything. And then I just started having fun with it, and we started like thinking about like new stream series ideas, and like I just like immediately started clowning on Patrick, and like one of the first streams I did with you, I remember, and I don't know why I felt comfortable doing that, but I just felt like, I don't know, I just really loved the everyone had, and that the like back and forth that that this group of people had back then.
Just quick thing, Dylan is the person who spotted the coffee sip moment as Danika saying sometimes you gotta hold your pee when you check in for a flight. And Dylan spotted the energy in the room and quietly, I was like, oh, this is what a pro does when you got a properly staffed shoot as well. Because Dylan like turned around, detected that the energy had shifted sometime around the second verse, and just like stealthily like got up, which is not easy in the room we were in. It was like really small, and set up to get the reaction shot.
Tight shot.
And like that's, you know, like Dylan did a lot of other awesome stuff. Dylan was incredible.
Dylan helped out
Dylan was
so
always
much
most people
with-
wanted to work with more.
Yeah.
Dylan was our mansion
mansion
producer.
Mm-hmm.
Our E3 eugenics mansion producer.
I thought you meant he was our Joe Manchin, and I was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that to Dylan?
We stayed at some weird places at E3. We had the mansion, the place where that weird little like house that we were in.
That house was so weird.
Oh my, with the AstroTurf backyard.
I was staying with Natalie, and like y'all were just at that house, and then I think I stayed on the couch.
And the house was so hot.
The house was so hot and weird.
We were leeching your internet off of your phone to do the streams because the internet at the place was bad. Joel felt terrible and was just like, "Do you want me to just book a hotel? I'll just pay for it." And we're like, "No, we probably should have just had you do that."
Yeah, that was LA Rob. LA Rob here.
Bad. I was like, I have failed as a person, as a friend, and as a professional because this house is like bad.
Well, Vice picked that place for us, right? That was like.
No, we picked it. We had a budget.
Because we
it was in our budget,
and that was
Natalie.
It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a set, right? It felt like we were on a TV set that was like meant to suggest a home.
It was a fake
but
house.
Like wasn't.
Yes, it was a very weird thing. Natalie, weren't you like? It took forever for you to get hired. Like
I never was officially hired.
Were you
like by Vice? I
remember #hire Natalie.
Oh,
well,
yeah,
I was an intern. And then I was so when my internship was ending, I was like I was telling Austin like please I like want to work here so badly, like I'll do anything. He was just like, I just don't know if like they're going to like I would hire you in a heartbeat. I don't know how we're gonna like how we can do streaming without you at this point. So we really want you to work here. And so at this point I was going into my senior year of college, I think, or junior senior year, I forget. But I started doing school part-time. So I was like, I have like a reduced semester, like class count, like I will work like whatever hours. So like please. And then luckily he got the head count and hired, but I could only be brought on as like a permalancer. So I was a part of like cast and crew technically. So I was a live stream producer I think until the end, basically. Yeah, I think until the end I was still technically under that. And I think maybe Joel, I don't remember if there was like one point where my contract changed when I almost got laid off during one of the mass layoffs. Like I was almost on the chopping block and Austin saved me.
I feel like the one Vice fold in nearly got you. I feel like the one Vice.
Yeah, that was the one Vice layoff. But yeah, I thought there was like maybe something, but then basically I got an offer and it was like a similar thing to Danika, where I was like, I really want to be here, but I don't know where like my upward mobility is here. And
that was one of the most heartbreaking days I have been a part of.
That was the worst day
in my
ever.
entire career. I was not in the office. I've always been remote, but I was like radio, like videoed in to whatever conference room we were in as we were.
We were in that giant boardroom too. That was like, do you remember the like?
Well, hang on. There's 2 days we're talking about.
This day we're talking about the layoff day. Yeah. The first day was the layoff day. I was told that I was getting fired. And Cado.
Oh well, you got the reverse waypoint. Well, we didn't know at the time it was the reverse waypointing, but now in retrospect,
fuck.
I think it was like said that like 3 of us, or maybe it was just you and I forget.
Yeah, no, you were done, and then Austin was like, I have a meeting, and it was time to pull some rabbits out of the hat. Like that was always my understanding how that went down. Because like there were a lot of other issues that were boiling over, and so I always got the sense that was a moment where Austin kind of laid it all out, and it was kind of a keep my team, or like I'm out, this whole thing's done. That was the impression I got. And so when we had a second meeting later in the day, Natalie was going to be able to stay. I think this is where your contract got tweaked. And
I think that's when it happened. Like then I think I might have been on a full time at that time. I finally got like the staff hire technically.
I remember before you left, like, because I had already been gone for a little bit, and I was in like full big sister mode, because I remember you were calling me like every day crying, like not knowing what decision to make. It was like it was really hard for me to leave Waypoint, but I think because Waypoint was really like your first like big career experience, and like you had fostered such close relationships with everybody and the community and stuff. You were really like,
that was the hardest.
That was traumatic.
I've ever made.
You didn't get to experience a job. You like made a bunch of friends, and then there was also a job associated with.
I made my best friends in the world still to this day, and then also like did what I fucking loved, and like made shit that I was super proud of. It was absolute dream job, and it was the hardest. I'm gonna cry. It was like I still think about it all the time. I still think about that decision, and
but look at all the cool shit you did.
Yeah, we get to do other cool shit. But Waypoint was such a
like winning a BAFTA.
Yeah, it was
winning a fucking BAFTA.
But I do think there's also like the weird thing is there was always this air of impermanence to so much that was happening at Waypoint, where it was like I I think from day one I was sort of expected. I always felt like I was in my last 6 months at Vice at best for basically the entire time I was there, with the brief blip of right after launching Waypoint Plus. But the other part was because the axe was always coming down, because like there were always jobs in jeopardy. Like I didn't think I was going to still be in touch with you folks, 6-7 years later. Like I figured, like, we're all gonna get got, and then we're gonna go our separate ways, and we'll have been like that's how it was at every other job. I don't talk to coworkers from any number of other jobs.
I'm annoying.
That's
the difference.
that's ultimately. But that's ultimately why I left at the time, was because I remember it was like the third mass layoff I had seen since I had been there. I was like technically like, easiest to chop off if there were to be layoffs. Like there was all these questions about like the media industry at the time, and I had like a exit strategy, and I was just like, I guess like I don't know if I'm going to still have my job at Vice in a month or 2 months or 3 months or a year, or except like longer. So that's really what it boiled down to at the time. But we got to make like the fucking most fun shit. Like every stream I did is still like burned in my memory, and is like I still go back and watch old stream of ours, and they make me so happy. And like lore reasons.
A lot of people discovered Waypoint because of lore reasons, is what I was just gonna say. Like I think so many people kind of came in around that 2018, towards the end of 2018 time because of lore reasons.
It was a big podcast shift. We were doing a lot more, like trying to come up with ideas for podcasts, and like that's one of my favorites, because it was just, I just told myself, all right, Kingdom Hearts 3 is coming. I kind of like the first one. I think everyone that's a fan of these games are total sickos. I'm gonna give this third one a shot because I do like Disney stuff. Maybe I can get there. And Natalie was like, I want to go there too. And I was like, look, what if we did a thing and we're gonna take it really seriously? We're gonna be Kingdom Hearts fans. And then somehow I like Austin was like, that sounds fun. I was like, okay, well then you could come in too. And I was like, it just snowballed from there into just let's play Kingdom Hearts to then let's do the entire history of the lore of Kingdom
We had
Hearts.
to. We did. We could not have played Kingdom Hearts 3 without understanding everything we needed to know.
Absolutely.
And
there's a reason we haven't done that series since, because people have asked. It's like such.
Yeah.
On one hand, it's low-hanging fruit. It's like the people want more reasons, and the reason I personally have always resisted it, even when like it's come up in meetings with our bosses, which is like, hey, like even we don't understand what you're doing, but people do seem like they'd like another lore reasons. And it's like that was that group, and it's like I could imagine doing something adjacent to it, something that was inspired by it. But like that was me and Austin and Natalie and Cado, just like we're stuck in this room
on a fucking ride, the ride of a lifetime. We were
and
stuck.
So I just couldn't fathom doing it without that explicit group dynamic, which I think is like very special. For what was amazing about Waypoint was that in lots of other websites, like okay, you came up with a format, and we did, and it's not like it would have been hard to just put other people in it and see how it worked. And it probably still would have been fun. But I was like, that was so sticky to those individual people that I could never find myself to budge on it. And I was like, because one day, I don't know if it's now or if it's 10 years from now, I don't know. But some window will open that allows us to do something like that again. And if I'm ever going to go through the Metal Gear universe, it's gonna be with those three other fuckers.
I haven't touched that shit because I know I'm gonna do it with you. I haven't touched Nier Automata. I have not played that game because I know I'm gonna do it with you fuckers. There are so many games that are out there that I have never like. Just I
and
know
as soon
I'm
as we
like
clear
off
System
limit.
Shock, Natalie's gonna get Natalie and the Lore Reasons crew.
I'm
gonna get right on it.
Oh. Fuck.
And then I think all of this brings us full circle to Ren or Raven. Renata Price. Ren, you are the youngest of all of us here, the person who was the youngest becoming a fan of Waypoint, and then I think what's been a very cool
the
thing
last
about
hire.
this, The Last Hire. You know, Michael Mann directs The Last Hire.
Yeah.
But it's someone I think that represents something that's always been very cool about Waypoint as a website. That is not always how this works. Is that you were able to become a fan of a thing that was built here, and then also become part of it, and make it like your own as well, which is something I've always been incredibly proud of. And I'm sure we told this story before in different venues, but like, where do you hear of Waypoint? How do you stumble upon it originally?
So
it turns out Ren predates me. I'm gonna be pissed.
I actually do, in the longest way possible. So I first hear of Waypoint because Austin announced he's leaving Giant Bomb. We have to go further back than that to actually get to the beginning of this, which is when I was 11 or 12 years old. I was in a Twitch chat for a Something Awful Let's Player. And one of those Let's Players had someone go over to another stream, and that stream was for a streaming group called Stream Friends, and of which Austin Walker was a pivotal member, along with a bunch of other folks who have since gone on to do various things in the game industry. Scott Benson did a series with Soha.
I've not heard that in 10 years probably, but I remember Stream Friends very fondly.
This is also how I became friends with Gita. And so I was friends with Gita as a young child. And I remember actually the day when Gita and I were talking on Twitter or something, and I said class, and they were like, what the fuck is she talking about? And then assumed that I meant college. And then I clarified, and then they were like, the fuck are you talking about? And then both of us went offline for several years. But that aside, I was watching Stream Friends as a kid, and then it kind of fundamentally shaped the people I spent time around on the internet. I was really lucky. I was a really annoying kid for many, many reasons. And that group of people was very kind to me and took me in and really pushed me to be better. When I said stupid shit because I was 13, they were like, hey, that was really fucking dumb. And you have to take accountability for that. And I did. And so I spent this time around this community that really shaped me. And then Austin went, Stream Friends kind of begins to fizzle around 2015. Then Austin goes to Giant Bomb, and then I follow his work to Giant Bomb, and then finally to Waypoint. And then I went back, actually. My first message in the Waypoint Discord was from 2017. I found 17-year-old me talking about liking fucking S-Town, of all fucking things, in the Waypoint Discord, and being monstrously annoying as a 17-year-old. But Waypoint helped fundamentally define my critical practice and the way I approach media and politics. And I then went on to study English in university, and then one day I was I want to write about games. Actually, on the most recent podcast, Rob went back and found the first pitch that I ever sent into Waypoint back in the summer of 2018.
Wow.
My senior year of high school, when I sent in a pitch to Waypoint about BattleTech. And so
brand.
That makes sense.
And crucially, he said it was a good pitch. Ren was
Rob
really
said
young,
it was a good pitch.
but that Rob said it was a good pitch, and that you could see. Oh my god!
Hello?
Hi.
Hi!
I'm in a cube.
Hey, have you unfucked the chat, Austin?
Yeah, I unfucked the chat. I can change the color of the cube. The cube has different colors.
Shit!
I can make it very bright. I can make it sunset. Let's make it sunset. I don't think this doesn't work. This doesn't work because it's just regular light coming in. I can make it purple. Can I make it purple? Be like a pink.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I love that.
I'm in an
This is a
airport.
vibe. Okay.
Are you at the
Yeah.
Philips
Thank you
Hue
for
terminal?
coming to us
what
live
is
from
going
the
on?
cube.
I'm in an undisclosed cube currently. In the world is where I am.
You look like you're in a karaoke box.
There is a photo booth function on this cube. Results will be sent to my email. I'm taking photos on the cube box. It's happening. I don't know.
Oh my god.
I'll send these to you to put. Oh, it's taking 5 photos. I'm sorry.
5 photos.
It's adjusting you. It's adjusting you.
There we go. Now we're good.
This is
I'll send the
amazing.
best ones over. All right. Hi. How's everybody
Wow.
doing?
Wow,
We're so
good.
good.
Ben
We
better,
were-
Ben
we were-
worse.
Yeah,
Been
that
better, been
is-
worse. Sure.
Mhm.
Sure.
We were just in the middle. We were kind of going through the history of Waypoint. We were getting full circle with Ren, having been a fan of your work.
Right.
She brought up Stream Friends, which was something I have not heard in a decade, probably.
A long time.
And kind of like how we all got here. We talked to Joel and Danika. We kind of went through the whole thing. You were not here. How much time do we have you for? I'm trying to structure what I'm even going to ask you.
So this says 18 minutes, but the thing is I have another different cube already paid for. And I didn't think they took the money for the cube, but they took the money for the cube. I might have to get up and change cubes in 18 minutes.
Okay.
Nice.
All
It's
right.
hot in this cube. I have to go to a cooler color. The purple's too hot. I gotta. I'm
You
making
gotta
it
go
too
to,
hot in
like,
here.
a
I
So
gotta go to-
teal.
we had
Aqua.
Ren up to
Aqua.
her sending her first pitches out into the world, pitching us with a BattleTech pitch.
Right. Sure.
Which I went back. Yeah, we went back and found it recently. It was actually the bones of what became a piece that I ended up writing on my Medium about BattleTech
Right. I
and
remember that
capitalism,
piece.
which
Yeah.
which then became the bones of a piece I finally wrote on Waypoint about BattleTech 3062. So that piece did actually
Gotcha.
follow me from 2018 all the way up until 2022 when it finally was like on the website.
Wow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's
and
That's
then
how it works sometimes. Sometimes something
Um,
sticks with you like that, you know?
We talked to Joel about this when we were kind of like the origins and like, when he was lining up people to talk to and sort of the vision of the site. And I've told versions of the story before. You and I have told versions of the story before. You told versions of the story before. But to hear it from you with the perspective of almost 7 years. Well, actually, I'm pretty much 7 years later, right? Almost to the day. Like
Yeah, dude.
E3 is when you get announced as leaving Giant Bomb.
Uh-huh.
So it's sometime in June, probably a couple of weeks from now, depending on the actual date. But when you
I mean, I get an
Compared-
email earlier than that is the thing to talk to Joel, obviously. That's the initial convo is Joel sends me an email on April 7th, 2016 that says, it says, the subject title is, "Yo!" ! Hey, Austin, our UK gaming editor, Mike Diver, sent me your way. Are you free to grab a coffee or hop on the phone anytime soon? Have some upcoming opportunities I'd love to talk with you about. And I was hanging out with a friend from out of town when that came in, and I was immediately like, is this like a thing? Is this like, what is this? What is this? And Joel, I hopped on the call with you basically that day. We just like maybe the next day I hopped on the call with you and you were like, listen, we're trying to do this big thing. And do you want to come through and talk at Vice HQ? Which at the time was like Vice HQ at the height of its powers, which is to say it was easy for you to like bring someone there and show it off and make it feel like it was cool and exciting and like a place worth being at. We hung out on the back porch area. We soaked in the rays. You gave me some homework, which as a nerd, I love to get homework. And then homework was like, all right, what if you had an infinite budget? What would you do? What's the best version of this? What would come to be called the deluxe cheeseburger version of this look like? The version of this that you would be most excited to make? Who would you bring on board? What's the content strategy like? How much stuff are you doing in video, in text, in other formats? What's the podcasting strategy? And we put it together as best as we could. And then I thought really long and hard about it. It's worth saying at the time we were going through some like question marks around Giant Bomb, which are now like very, it's so quaint to be like, oh no, we lost our biz dev guy because he was like a little too focused on pushing Giant Bomb. This is Stan. Shout outs to Stan.
I remember Stan.
I just
Stan was ruled. Stan, the only person who gave a shit to try and move that site forward, get it resources, like all that stuff happened, or at least someone tried to make that happen after I left.
Yes, and he made enemies doing that, and we lost him. That makes it sound like he was assassinated. He just, he got fired at some point. We lost him.
I fucking salute him.
Yeah, and I think things were in a real, like, I don't know, dude. Vinny and I talks, like, I don't know, man, like, we sure are making good ad money on this podcast, and that's not coming to our pocket. Is that a thing we should look at? Da-da-da-da-da. And next thing you know, Joel is pitching me, hey, what if you come build something with Vice, and you could build it with people you like, and moved quick on it. Joel was good at getting me on board. I think we all believed in the best version of what we could build at the time, and like, obviously the realities of building a thing in the media ecology that we would turn out to be in, also just the world that we would be in. We say this a lot, but my earliest conversations with everybody who was in that starting team, Joel and Mike, who had already been there, and then Danika and Patrick and Danielle, who were there from launch, and then other people behind the scenes. We truly thought, we did not know we were going into a Donald Trump world.
The Comey letter happened during the 72.
I was going to say, literally, while we are looking at the stream right now, the 2016 election is ticking closer and closer. That clock in the back may as well be a ticking clock to, oh no, this election might not go the way we think it might. Not that we were big Hillary Clinton people, but we were certainly not expecting the Donald we were about to go into.
That lack of enthusiasm for Hillary is why all this happened. Never forget. If you just liked her more.
If you had just gone to the polls.
Voting,
Can I know?
Holding my breath and voting wasn't enough.
Can I note one thing here that is relevant to this era? This was like the foundation of like Renata's political education, was like one of like part of this era of Waypoint. And I remember getting in an argument with a teacher who said I was a misogynist for not liking Hillary Clinton in that very specific era of my life, and like coming to Waypoint to be like, God damn it, I knew it.
It was so wild. I think I've told this story before, but like, this is the height of when one of the media responses to this was, we have to reach Middle America. And there was a meeting right after the election, like a week after the election, where two highly placed Vice executives, all of the editors-in-chief, to a room, the Munchie's Kitchen, to explain to us that we needed to start both sidesing more. And everybody pushed back. Even people I don't like, even editors who are long since gone from Vice, who were pieces of shit, even they were on the right side of, absolutely not are we going to both sides some shit. Literally someone was like, well, we're doing all these climate change stories. Maybe we should get someone on who, and I was like, absolutely not. Are you fucking kidding me? This is how we got in this mess to begin with. What I will say is, like, again, we've plenty of good and bad to say about Vice leadership over the years, but like, when that moment hit, the response from editorial leadership was unequivocal that we cannot step backwards. And that is why we had the freedom to do the stuff that we did. In some ways, working under the Trump presidency was validating that the conversations that we wanted to have and the stories we wanted to report were the ones that mattered. And it gave us some leeway in terms of editorial budget in those early years. Whether that budget stuck out, who could say? Who could say by what ridiculous percentage? Joel, I remember you and me getting that second year budget and being like, all right, well, we can figure out how to make it work somehow. And I don't know, we did all right. So,
there was
every 6 months you had to tell all your freelancers you're sorry you couldn't work with them again. 2 months after that, you would tell them I may have budget again soon. And 2 months after that, you would see who was left, who was still around to write.
Well, and
that's
truly,
just digital media.
The amount, that's just digital media. Except that that first year of operation, we had budget in a way that I don't think anyone will ever have budget for freelance editorial in video games ever again. And we spent every fucking penny. I mean, we were running 5 stories a day, something like that, maybe more, and like 4 or 5, like most of them were freelance, and we're paying like good rates at the time. And so like Danielle's not on this call at this point, but like we would be in the office very late just because you had to be in the office very late to finish editing stories. Very do as I say, not as I do in those opening days of Waypoint as we tried to figure out work-life balance shit. But I mean, we were pouring tens of thousands of dollars into freelance editorial content in a way that the scariest thing about looking forward, and I've talked to everybody on this call about this in some way, is just like, I don't know what video games journalism looks like in 5 years. I don't know and I don't mean that in a euphemistic way. I don't know what it looks like. So wild.
One of the things that has always and will always be a standout moment for me and my time at Waypoint, and it was one of the pivotal moments for me when I knew I kind of had to start thinking about other options, but also really kind of cemented in my heart and soul that like Waypoint was video games journalism and was good, was when the sexual assault allegations first happened at Vice. And I remember it was horrific because we were getting the news when everybody else was getting the news. And our first reaction was like, we have to say something and we have to show solidarity. And I remember, Austin, you had like another one of those meetings with all of the EICs and you were like, we're going to post. And everybody pushed back and you ended up fucking posting. And then I just tweeted
the Waypoint
solidarity.
Motto, Waypoint, we're gonna post.
Yeah, and that was definitely one of the moments where I was just like, we are doing things as best as we can with the resources that we have, with the pushback that we're getting, and we are doing what I think is really good and amazing work.
Well,
but also, this is representative of Vice as a whole,
There was that's one of those moments that you can look back on and be like, I think we did the exact right thing. But in time, I understand why some other people were less able to publish similar statements. For people who don't know, sexual assault and misconduct allegations hit Vice in 2017, something like that. And we ended up publishing a statement about it. There was some pushback internally, not from my boss, who was happy for us to do this, or maybe not happy, but was willing to give us the freedom to do that, knew how important it was to our team. Our team is the people on this call, plus at the time, Mike and Danielle, and some additional support staff like Eunice. Shout outs. Very easy to get everybody on that into a call, to read to read a letter and be like, yes, we all agree with this. And we could publish that because it was just us. Thinking back on it and now knowing that a number of other people in the editorials, not from our side, but in other outlets, would later have their own allegations, I get why some of our peers at other verticals were not eager to sign a larger letter, because they'd be signing it with people they didn't trust and that they had heard bad shit about. And so one of the benefits that we had was being a small, team with a lot of trust. We knew that we all believed in this, that this was an important mission for us, and an important moment where we had some leverage to put on the company. I think I've said this before too, but 3 days after we published that, I'm being pulled into a huge meeting with lawyers and other editorial leadership. My boss slides me a note that says, Shane Smith is furious at you right now. And if all I got out of Waypoint personally is a couple of billionaires got mad at me at sometimes, I don't know, that's a dub. Like, I'll post that every time.
It is a dub.
So
we take those.
Fuck them.
We take those.
Are we approaching your 18 minutes?
Early. I have 5.5 minutes left before I move to another cube, or my hope is this cube just and refreshes. But
okay,
we'll see.
Sorry, I stepped on you. Go ahead.
Go ahead. What Rob gonna say?
No, I was going to say, I think, like, having had some time to think though about the arc of things since that era, here's the thing. I also look back and I see at that moment too. This is where Vice really changes out a lot of the old guard because they'd like publicly disgraced themselves and been running a boys' club for years. But part of the house cleaning, the way they're going to fix things is we're going to bring in a platoon of girl bosses to clean this up. And the people who were affected, the people whose careers were derailed by all this, the people who were like sort of like kept from advancing within the company, or the people who quit, forget about them. Like, we'll settle with them, we'll settle them elsewhere, but like, we're not going to redress it on those terms. What we are going to do is we are going to hire business school, like MBA types who are like corporate board friendly, and they're going to be the ones who are going to take this over. And I feel like that was also a moment where you entered a worst of both worlds situation, because the thing about the toxic con men prior to that is you did at least have like genuine impresarios who loved the vibe of the site and the attitude and like fancied themselves like, media people. The people who came in did not. That was my feeling.
More importantly, the previous people stayed the fuck away from editorial. And let editorial run itself, except for when they were preying on people, which is like why you have to get rid of them. The people who came in, and I want to say, like, there were some girl bosses in there, but there was also some real tech bros. And I think that the number one tech bro is the guy who called us into a meeting, and Joel, you'll remember this. He was like, oh yeah, gaming, yeah, I just did some gaming stuff, and explained that he was the one who fired everybody at Game Trailers. He flipped. And it was like, why is this the way you want to talk? Like, that's not.
I remember. Oh my god!
Jesus Christ!
What was effectively like the leveraged buyout of Game Trailers to Austin, who knew the people that got fired.
Right. A number of those people. It's a small group, dude. You know all those people.
I was clued in on that. Austin leans over to me after the meeting and he goes, I don't think we should trust this guy.
Oh, you guys run a restaurant? I just burned one down for the insurance money.
Exactly. Well, and this is the dude who drags his feet on a thing that would, we can now look back at it as like a wild potential alternate universe. Drags his feet on the possibility that we end up working with some people from other websites. And
he already said it. Vinny already said it out loud.
Did Vinny say it? Oh,
so okay. Hold on.
So
let me explain what I. No, just this is what I know.
You tell the story the way you also heard about it the first time, because that's gold.
Well, no, I don't know what you want to say. It's mostly that when I did an exit interview with Ben Hansen over at MinMax. He said, "Hey, you guys tried to buy Giant Bomb." And I was like,
"Oh, did he get you? Did you get got? Did you get caught?"
And I said, what do you... He's like, well, Vinny mentioned something briefly when I guess on Nextlander, on one of their podcasts, they talked about the fact that Waypoint was shutting down.
Yep.
And they mentioned at some point there were conversations between Vice and Giant Bomb. And I said, I'm sure I'm under no legal obligations to say or not say anything, but it would... If I am, I would defer to you putting Austin and Vinny in a room. Because actually, frankly speaking, and you can say whatever you want or don't want to say, that was like, I mostly was at a PAX, and then people went to a dinner, and I knew what was going on. You would always tell me, and we talk about it.
Do you remember how you knew? Do you remember how you remember how it went on? It's the funniest story in the world, which is Joel and I are like trying to make this happen. We're talking to Vinny and Jeff at the time, and we're in fact talking to them after a podcast recording, or maybe it was a breakfast in Battlegrounds, and you're still on the fucking call. And I get a text from you that's just 6 question marks. And at that point, we're about to talk to anybody yet, because is it real? Is it fake? Who could say? Right? It's not real at the very least, right? It's like, oh, it's ideas. We're aligned. We're all like, I don't know, man. But together we could maybe build a cool thing. This is around the era when Danika, you went and did that Miiverse video at Giant Bomb, which is like literally a snapshot of another world that could have existed. And this executive who fired all the Game Trailers people and leveraged that site in some sale is the guy who interrupted that, or who I have 2 seconds left on my cube, and then I'll tell this story. My internet's going to die any second now, I think. Am I still here?
You're still here.
Yeah.
You're
Am I
here.
cheating?
I
Okay.
don't know.
My lights just
Maybe it'll
turned
be like
off.
a slow fade to black.
I don't know how this is going to work. It says,
I'm
thank you for using your
scared for
session.
you.
Your session has expired. I'm going to
This is
disappear.
And now
any
Venus
second.
flytraps
getting-
Austin.
Right, I know. Like, is it going to lock me in? What's going to happen? I don't know. Wait. Did it just work? Yes, it just rolled over. It 100% just rolled over into my other
Let's
purchase one.
go.
All right, so I have to fix the lights. The lights are back to being white. I got to make them waypoint
Yeah,
color
go
again.
back
Hold
to
up.
Aqua.
There we go. Aqua. So there's a couple ways, Joel, and you can remind me on some of the shit because it's been a minute since we talked about it, where we were like, okay, there's a lot of ways we could do this. It was a thing we were following. It's a thing when we tabled. I guess before that dude had been involved, you and I talked to a couple other Vice guys, part of that style of acquisition and stuff. We had some early conversations where it seemed like, okay, there's an easy way to do this, which is never the one he wants to do it, which would have been buy outright all of the IP and the RSS feeds, and everyone's contracts just move over if they're contracted, and otherwise they just become whatever. And there's the hard way, which is like everybody quits their jobs and we hire them. And ideally, Joel, you and I were in some wild blue sky shit. Because like, what if we convinced Vice to give us like our own little skunkworks subsidiary company that's off to the side? We really were dreaming big, brother. We were like on some other worldly shit. And it felt possible at the time. But at the end of the day, what it came down to was this one dude who, like, saying no, kept believing he could make it happen. And in that time was like, just this, and ended up being like, that was going to be part of how Waypoint, one of the models which we can imagine Waypoint growing and being something that could sustain continued headcount, other responsibilities for the people here, so that like if you had managing editor in your title, you were really a managing editor because you have enough people to where that made a ton of sense. Or if you were a social media specialist, Danika, I don't remember what your exact title was at the time. Social editor.
Yeah, that's what
Social
it was. Yeah.
There's paths forward for that aren't just being social editor for 3 sites at once. There's a world in which you become more of like a brand manager. And all of that hung on this dude kind of trying to pursue this thing. And by the time he finally got off his ass to pursue it, which is, I'm sure there are reasons why he took time, the window had closed on the Giant Bomb side, right? The precarity of the situation that they were in at the time wrapped. And they, I think, rightly found a way forward for a few years after that to where they could sustain themselves with that same crew of people.
Oh no!
Oh
Cube
no!
down.
Oh no! The cube!
Wait,
Oh, no, you're
Wait,
there.
he's back. Austin's back.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I didn't go any. On my side,
Oh.
it was just fine. It was just fine.
You really? Oh, that's scary.
So,
that's
but
scary,
can you
that's
imagine?
scary.
We could have, if that had gone through, we could have destroyed like multiple generations
Every
of video
website.
game websites in one
Yeah.
in one go.
Oh, right. Yeah, because who knows?
One
Like, this
fell
is the
swoop.
thing. It's very easy to be like, oh, and it would have worked beautifully. I don't know that it would have worked beautifully. It's nice to think. It's nice to dream, But
We had
It wouldn't have worked
conversations-
beautifully.
Austin,
This company started Vice Live like a year later.
Oh,
it did happen.
Austin,
Yeah.
I remember like walking to the little cafe that was kind of across the street from Vice with you and having a conversation. This was when I think this was like late 2017 also, yeah, when things were just kind of starting to get really muddy at Vice. And I remember we had a conversation like, wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be nice if we just like all left Vice and like partnered up and started our own thing with the Giant Bomb guys and we convinced everybody to leave and we just like kind of did our own thing independently. I remember having that conversation at one point. So
It's one of those things. It's like, it would have been a lot of work to get things right, and it's just very easy to be like, I wish that had happened, and I obviously a big part of me does wish that, but also it's more complicated than that, So.
Mm.
Also, for what it's worth,
We were
I am not connected to the internet anymore. I'm only connected to this call. I can't open a web page. I can't Twitch chat. I can't check my email for the photos that I was supposed to get from this photo booth, and it won't let me reconnect.
and you can't leave.
and I can't leave, and I'm locked
Yeah.
in.
It was Austin. We were talking. Patrick was talking earlier about how the idea for a game site even came up in the first place, and I told the story of like Vice selling this like Taco Bell sponsorship where they made all those documentaries that ended up being the Disney show. But there's and y'all talked about it when you did the first Waypoint Plus like after hours show, was like there was always a push and pull between how do you operate like a media company and how do you make money. And it's Vice's this tech guy that like dragged his feet was always thinking scale. And like
Yes.
that's
Yes.
it's been so proven to be such a fundamentally bad business model. But there was either you do the qualitative thing, which is what happens on Patreon, which is what Giant Bomb did, which is like you have a smaller audience that cares a lot more and spends a lot more time with you, or you do the scale thing, which is like Patrick, I think like Kotaku at its like heyday, right, was like nailing scale. It was like SEO masterfully, like tons of articles. And like we knew, Austin and I and Patrick and Everett like knew early on that like the model for Waypoint wasn't scale, because scale meant you had to like play a game that we didn't want to play. And so when I left Vice after we pitched this subscription thing. Like I literally pitched it as hard as I could and like built business plan on business plan. And it was clear to me, it was like, Joel, this is not going to happen. And you can go be a sales guy for like gaming content. And that's when I left, because I was just like, this isn't, I'm not going to be able to do this. And I'm probably like one layoff from getting cut anyway. So, you know, it's like, I'll leave on my own accord. But then years later, through some back door, y'all do Waypoint Plus, which is like the exact kind of formula, which is like, can you find a qualitative way to exist on the internet instead of scale?
Right. Which we should be clear, that was part of the thing with that potential acquisition, was tech guy didn't think we could DTC without more back catalog. And without more talent. And of course, what Waypoint Plus proves is like, yes, we could have. Yes, we could have. We absolutely could have gone. Sorry, DTC
they don't
is
know how
direct
gaming
consumer. That's the
works.
subscription acronym.
They don't know how games
works because they don't know.
They don't get it.
And so obviously I have not been there for years now, but I am like so deeply proud of the work that y'all have done after I left, maintaining and proving that you could build a sustainable subscription-driven business. What you can't do is do that inside of a media system that is fundamentally broken, where it doesn't matter what your income looks like. It doesn't matter how in the black you are. It goes back to the thing you were saying before, Rob, right? Which is like, you have people who've come in who want to rebuild something and put their mark on it and revolutionize it by building a TV network again, question mark. And that's going to blow up in your face. Even if what we do is the right model for us, you know? I don't know. There are so many stories of like, they understand what we had, or did they understand what they had in us? I think about every single Save Point, which shout outs to everyone on this call and everyone who's ever part of Save Point on the Vice side, but also all of the community side, all of the moderation team members, everybody who ever made a Save Point work. And you would get through all of the years of being at Vice, you'd get someone popping their head in and being a little confused by the success that we had, because it didn't add up in their minds. Why would this business that's not making $50 million a year be able to nevertheless raise so much money and have so much community buy-in from the community that we had? They literally could not unpack what a community-driven outlet was. And it made me, and like, you know, the reason that I'm proud of Save Point is because we have helped causes we believe in. But in the moment, the reason that I was like proud in the 7 deadly sin hubris sense was because it was great examples of us proving to a company that didn't understand what we were, that we're doing something special, and that we really were making stuff that mattered to people and giving a space to people who didn't feel like they had one. That's the stuff that I think still to this day, like whatever all the complicated feelings I know we all probably have about Waypoint, that's the stuff that's like, riding fucking high. You know what I mean? Waking up the day after a save point or in the middle of a save point to rush back to go do more. Just the proudest I've ever been in terms of what we did together.
Yeah.
Highlights of my career for sure.
We do want to give everyone a break. We have some news that we do want to talk about, but in the spirit of what Austin was saying of remembering Waypoint, I went out. This is a crew of people that have worked on this website. I went out and got a message about Waypoint from someone who didn't work on this website. But Cado, can you roll that beautiful bean footage? Can we get this up for the people?
At Waypoint, it is me, the man with the great God ideas, and your loyal friend Ruben Robosa. Patrick told me the sad news about website getting shut down. Sometimes even good ideas are not as appreciated as they should be. There are a lot of people in this world, but I'm not here to say how we are losing a great idea website. I'm here to tell you all that the future is bright and the future is coming. All of you will find success, and as sad as you are right now to say goodbye, all of you were part of something special, and you will take that experience and friendship with you. So keep doing what you're passionate about. Success is never a linear path. It has its ups and its downs. And when things fall apart, we pick it up the good parts to carry with us and try it again and again. Good ideas matter, and you must fight for them. Don't give up pessimism. The gaming community has seen the best of you yet. And trust me, if you keep saying the way it really is, eventually your word is a law in the universe. Bye now, and please, please, please don't forget about me, okay? Bye now, and I love you all. Bye.
Thanks to Ruben Rabasa for crushing it.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
I frankly really encapsulated a lot of my feelings on this website. And
He said it all.
I thought
Yeah,
that
what's
was
left to say?
You know, I made some
Exactly.
decent loaves.
Yeah, Rob?
What's up?
Rob hitting the soundboard. We are going to take a break. We're gonna let people get up, stretch their legs, go to the bathroom. Austin, are we saying goodbye
I'm
to
saying
you at this
you.
point?
I'm gonna stay in. I mean, maybe you should.
Okay.
Maybe that's easiest, so I can leave the cube.
But we'll see. We'll say goodbye, and then if you're here in 10 minutes, you're here.
Right.
If you're not,
Then
you've
I'm here.
said your goodbyes. But we have some stuff we want to talk about the future, and so let's take a little break, and we'll come back and do exactly that.
You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. Ooh, if there's no waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. Ooh, if there's another man, I hope you don't go ahead. But I won't stay chasing shadows. Ooh. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't go ahead. But I won't stay chasing shadows. Ooh. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. Ooh, if there's another man, waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't. I hope you don't go ahead. But I don't wanna stay chasing shadows, chasing shadows. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't. I hope you don't go ahead. But I don't wanna stay chasing shadows, chasing shadows. Chasing shadows, chasing shadows. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't. I hope you don't go ahead. But I don't wanna stay chasing shadows, chasing shadows. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't go ahead. But I won't stay chasing shadows. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't go ahead. But I won't stay chasing shadows. You go out for something you wanted, 'cause everything's the same. You waste away everything you find. You sold out for something you wanted, the future and the fame. You waste away everything you left behind. If there's another man, I hope you don't go ahead. But I won't stay chasing shadows. waste away everything you left behind.